The city had long since forgotten him. Ethan was 13, though the hunger in his belly and the cold in his bones made him feel much older. He had been living on the streets for nearly 2 years, ever since his mother had gone to the hospital and never returned. He remembered the social workers, the promises of shelters and food, but those promises had faded like smoke. Now it was just him, the alleyways, and the scraps of warmth he could scrape together from dumpsters, broken vents, and the one possession he still held onto, a tattered wool blanket. The blanket was thin, patched more times than he could count, but it was his shield against the winter night. On the bitter evenings, when frost bit into the world like a predator, he wrapped himself in it and whispered to himself that tomorrow might be better. But tomorrow never was. On one such night, beneath a half-broken street lamp, Ethan huddled behind a stack of trash bins. Snow drifted down, muffling the city sounds, turning even the misery into something quiet. His stomach growled, but he tried to ignore it. That's when he heard it. A faint noise that didn't belong to the night. It was like a cry, but not human. Cautious, Ethan pulled the blanket tight and peered past the bins. At first, he thought he saw nothing but a collapsed figure lying in the snow. Then the light caught it, a girl or something close to one. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale silver with a glow that pulsed weakly beneath it. She was small, no older than Ethan himself, though her eyes, large and liquid, were not of this world. Her lips parted, and a faint whimper came, almost like static. She was dying. Ethan froze. His first instinct was to run. Whatever she was, she didn't belong here, and whoever was looking for her might be dangerous. But then he saw her chest shudder, saw the way she clutched at herself as if trying to fight the cold, and his heart twisted. She looked so fragile, so alone. And he knew what it felt like to be alone. Without thinking, Ethan stepped forward. He unwrapped his blanket from his shoulders and crouched beside her. Her skin was icy cold, almost painful to touch, but he draped the blanket over her anyway. "You'll freeze," he muttered, though he wasn't sure she understood. She stirred faintly at the warmth, her breathing easing just a little. For a moment, her eyes fluttered open and she looked at him. Not with suspicion, not with fear, but with something like gratitude. Ethan sat beside her, hugging his arms tight against himself. The night clawed into his bones now that he had given up his shield. His teeth began to chatter, his skin numbed, but he stayed. He couldn't leave her like this. Hours passed. Snow fell thicker. Ethan shivered violently, his breath coming in shallow clouds, but whenever he glanced at her, she was still alive, still breathing, still wrapped in the warmth he had given up. He leaned against the wall, fighting sleep. The last thing he remembered was whispering, "Don't die," before the cold finally dragged him under. When Ethan woke, it was morning. At first he thought he was still dreaming. He rubbed his eyes, squinting against the pale sun. Then his heart nearly stopped. They were everywhere. Figures stood in the street, in the alley, on the rooftops. Not humans. Aliens. At least 200 of them, their forms tall and slender, their skin the same silvery hue as the girls, though each glowed faintly with a different shade. Blue, violet, gold, emerald. Their eyes were vast pools of light, and they moved with a grace that made them seem like living constellations. Ethan sat frozen, his breath caught. He felt like an ant beneath 1,000 watchful stars. Then he realized the girl was gone. Panic shot through him, until he noticed movement at the center of the crowd. The alien girl stood there, wrapped in the blanket he had given her. She no longer looked fragile. Her glow had returned, brighter now, her posture strong. She looked alive. And she was looking at him. The crowd parted as she approached. Ethan wanted to run, to hide, but his legs wouldn't move. When she stopped in front of him, she spoke, not in words but in something deeper. Her lips barely moved, but her voice filled his mind. "You saved me." Ethan's throat went dry. I just gave you my blanket." The girl tilted her head, eyes shimmering. "You gave me more than that. You gave when you had nothing. You chose my life over your comfort. That is rare." Behind her, the aliens stirred, a low hum resonating among them, like a choir breathing as one. The girl raised her hand, and silence fell. "My people came for me. I was lost, wounded, stranded. You found me when no one else did." She paused, her gaze steady. "And because of you, my people will not forget this world." Ethan blinked. "What do you mean?" The girl's eyes softened. "We have watched from the stars for many cycles. We have seen your wars, your cruelty, your neglect of one another. But we also saw you, a child who had nothing yet gave everything. If even one such as you exists, then your world is not beyond hope." The aliens bowed their heads in unison. The sound of their hum rose, reverberating through the air, vibrating deep in Ethan's chest. He clutched his arms around himself, overwhelmed. I don't understand," he whispered. The girl stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his chest. Her touch was warm now, radiating like sunlight. "You will. In time." The days that followed were unlike anything Ethan had imagined. The aliens did not vanish into the sky immediately. Instead, they lingered, setting up camp on the outskirts of the city. They were cautious, avoiding crowds, but word spread quickly. People whispered of lights in the night, of strange figures moving among the shadows. Ethan found himself at the center of it all, though he hardly knew why. The girl, whose name he learned was Leora, stayed by his side. She explained little of her people, only that they had been watching humanity, waiting to see if Earth was worth reaching out to. "They test worlds," she told him one night, as they sat beside a fire the aliens had built. "They wait until they find proof of compassion, of selflessness. That is the seed from which trust can grow." Ethan shook his head. "But I'm no one. Just a kid with a blanket." Leora smiled faintly, her silver skin glowing in the firelight. "Sometimes it is the smallest act that speaks the loudest." But not everyone saw it that way. The city grew uneasy. Rumors spread of an alien invasion, of scouts preparing for conquest. News reports speculated wildly, while governments dispatched drones to observe the visitors. Some people panicked, others grew hostile, and through it all, Ethan became a target. People saw him with the aliens, saw how they treated him with a strange reverence, and they whispered. Some called him a prophet. Others called him a traitor. One night, as he slept near the alien camp, a group of men stormed into the clearing. They shouted, waving sticks and knives, demanding the aliens leave. One lunged at Ethan, snarling about selling humanity out. Before the blade could strike, a wall of light erupted between them. The men stumbled back, blinded, as the aliens rose to their full height. Their hum became a thunder, shaking the earth itself. The attackers fled in terror.